It's no secret that many of the DLC blades in Xenoblade 2 are monstrously powerful, and I figured because of this fact it would be a good idea to cover Corvin right after Cross-Set, simply because he is also immediately available right after you gain the ability to pull blades. Once again, assuming you have the DLC expansion pass, of course. Corvin is a blade who seemed strong when he released, but the extent of just how much wasn't well known yet, and as it turns out, he's one of the strongest blades in the entire game, rising up to 6th place on my recent blade tier list. But what reasons did he climb this high? How do you use him effectively, and what are his greatest strengths? In this video, I hope to answer all of those questions and more. If you enjoy content like this, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because it helps out so much, and look forward to all of the remaining guides in the future. So, as stated, Corvin is a blade who is guaranteed right near the beginning of the game, and despite being a tank blade, is a pretty strong early option for Rex right off the bat, even if he'll be better on other drivers later on. He isn't as immediately powerful as someone like Cross-Set, but his versatility and scaling will eventually become more useful for a variety of things the game has to offer, and he's basically a required blade for the Bringer of Chaos difficulty because of his unique skills and abilities. In fact, I would go as far as to say Corvin is one of the easiest blades to use and have success with. His strengths can drastically make the game much easier, and just because of how powerful his stats and abilities are. So Corvin is a clone of the Katana class weapon, and just like Katanas, he is also a tank class blade. However, the stats of his weapon all far exceed those of the general Katana class weapons, having a higher auto attack stat, critical hit rate, and block rate. He also comes with incredible defenses of 35 and 45, which of course means he takes 35% reduced damage from physical attacks and 45% reduced damage from ether attacks. This is tied for the third highest value for physical defense of all blades in the game behind Poppy Buster and Cressidas, and it is the highest ether defense value in the game. Essentially, this makes Corvin one of the tankiest blades in the game when attacks actually manage to hit him, which is already a nice selling point. He also comes with a 20% agility mod, which is a very strong modifier for a Katana class weapon, and will allow him to evade attacks more easily. When maxed on Trust, he also has the fastest cooldown time of any blade in the game tied with Elma, so you will be able to use him a lot even if you need to swap blades with him. Already you can see the strength of his stats that make him a strong defensive blade. On his skill tree, Corvin has some really strong skills that offer powerful utility to his driver that you cannot get with any other blade. The most standard of these skills is Insys Lucis, which increases Corvin's damage by 90% at rank 1 and 150% at rank 5. It also increases his evasion by 15% at rank 1 and 25% at rank 5. This is a strong 2-in-1 skill to give Corvin a pretty solid additive damage increase to everything. 150% damage increase may not seem like a ton after Cross-Set, but it's still a very respectable amount and gives Corvin some solid damage potential. There aren't many blades that'll get that much damage at max affinity, and on top of that he also gets a 25% evasion buff, which is also great for allowing him to evade attacks, and combined with his naturally high defenses and agility he gives to his driver, it makes him a very difficult blade to bring down. He arguably offers more defensive utility than any other blade, and this skill only exemplifies that. His second skill, Ale Custode, will fill the party gauge by 8 when landing a critical hit at level 1, increasing up to 16 at level 5. These numbers probably don't really mean all that much by themselves, but to contextualize this a bit more, the party gauge basically has 300 units total, each with a section comprising 100 units each. Normally a critical hit would only give a value of 3, and if you have the bonus critical hit effect on skill trees that increases it by 5. So Corvin at level 1 on this skill will already be giving you just as much party meter as a critical hit normally that has the critical hit bonus skill on driver skill trees. This value goes all the way up to 16 and stacks with the other effect to give you 24 total if you really need that much for every critical hit you get. This makes Corvin probably the best blade in the entire game at getting party meter, and invaluable in the Bringer Chaos difficulty where party meter gain is drastically reduced. On normal mode, this is probably more helpful early on, but it can still be nice for getting chain attacks up incredibly fast, and is something no other blade besides Corvin can do. All around, this is a great skill with a lot of strong utility. Corvin's final skill is another very powerful skill that truly makes him a defensive juggernaut. Upon evading an attack, all arts are recharged by a value of 0.5 at level 1, which isn't much, but this scales up to 2.5 at level 5, and this value is just going to basically be subtracted from the normal art cooldown. For multi-hit attacks or moves that will proc multiple times, this skill is extremely powerful when combined with Corvin's guaranteed evasion art on every driver. and if you time it right or are against multiple enemies who are constantly attacking, it can be used to give you almost infinite evasion by spamming the same art over and over. That will also allow you to continue doing damage and charge up your own specials as well for extra efficiency. All in all, this is a very strong skill and one that Corvin's natural evasion and guaranteed evasion synergizes incredibly well with. Corvin's specials are perhaps one of the strongest aspects about him. Firstly, all of his specials are ether-based mostly, with a minor exception related to his level 4 that we'll talk about later. In addition, all of his specials pierce enemy defense values, meaning you'll always get the full effect of damage when using any of Corvin's specials on an enemy. This already makes his special moves pretty strong, but it actually gets even more ridiculous than that. Corvin's first special is Fuga Demonen, which is a single hit special with a decent area of effect surrounding Corvin. It starts at a damage ratio of 390 and will hit 710 at level 5, which rises to 768 at max affinity. This is the highest level 1 damage ratio in the entire game. Second place belongs to Numa at 720, and third place to Pandoria at 600. That's right, Corvin has the highest ratio, and if you don't include another very powerful blade, it isn't particularly close. It also gives a 25% critical hit mob, which is very strong with Corvin's high critical hit rate. The effect will heal 6% of damage dealt to the entire party at level 1, rising to 10% at level 5. 10% is really all you'll need though, because it should end up being a full party healing move in a pinch, just because of how powerful the special is. This gives it some useful utility in making him able to heal the entire party, all while maintaining aggro and being a fantastic tank and damage dealer at the same time. The area of effect is actually pretty strong as well against multiple enemies, making it a solid option in those kinds of fights. Now this move isn't without a weakness. It's a single hit attack, making it pretty bad for chain attacks, especially later on when it's easy to hit damage cap with. It's also not the fastest level 1 special out there either. Despite these few flaws though, it's one of the better level 1 specials in the game. Corvin's level 2 special is Lacerna Noctis. Now this is Corvin's fastest special by far. It's 5 hits and comes with a nice 50% critical modifier, making it almost guaranteed to get critical hits on its attacks. The first hit does 11% of the damage, and the remaining 4 hits do 22% of the damage each. The truly terrifying part is the damage ratio though. It starts at 640 at level 1, and rises to 1000 at level 5, and that becomes 1102 at max affinity. For reference, Numa is once again second place at 870, and third place is a 3-way tie at 725. Corvin's level 2 damage ratio dwarfs everyone else's, and this can be seen in the damage itself. In fact, this special is so good with its guaranteed pierce and high damage and speed that it ends up being one of the best options for setting up damage over time effects on Bringer of Chaos. It's a decent move for chain attacks for easy cap damage as well, making it one of the best specials in the game. And we haven't even talked about its unique effect yet. At level 1, this special has a 60% chance to purge enemy rage status, and this increases to 100% at level 5. This is the only move in the entire game that can purge rage. Now, enemies usually get a number of bonuses when they enrage, so Corvin having even more defensive utility by being able to remove this status makes him truly invaluable against certain enemies that have some of the strongest enrages in the game, such as Cloud Seed Befouler Loth. It also has some nice area of effect in front of Corvin and can easily kill multiple enemies. All in all, this special is amazing for its damage, speed, and utility, being one of the only specials that can purge rage, and it's one of the things that makes Corvin so strong. Corvin's level 3 special is Ex Tenebris Lux. This special is unfortunately probably the slowest special in the entire game, not counting some level 4s. Corvin likes to take his time doing this one, which makes it not nearly as great as his level 2 in my opinion. Now there are some benefits to this special. It continues the super high damage ratio trend, having 900 at level 1, which rises to 1340 at level 5, and becomes 1428 at max affinity. Numa in second place has a ratio of 1020, so he is once again by far the highest for this special. Don't get me wrong, from a pure damage ratio standpoint, this is probably the strongest special in the game, but the speed of this special leaves a lot to be desired. If you want to use this to finish a blade combo, you'll nearly be guaranteed cap damage, but if you do care about speed or what the special can do in chain attacks, the speed can make it a huge issue since you will likely never get any fusion combo benefits from this special. Now the bonus effect is it's also pretty unique and special, letting Corvin evade the next 6 attacks guaranteed. and this will not count attacks that naturally miss or other forms of guaranteed evasion from Corvin's arts, so this further makes him a nearly impossible to kill defensive juggernaut, and all in all you can't really call it a bad special. I personally just don't think it's as good as level 2 in a majority of situations. It also has no area of effect if that matters to you, and the damage ratio distribution is very wonky. All in all, strong special, decent effect, but the speed absolutely leaves something to be desired and can be a hindrance in some situations. Corvin's level 4 is a Velo Mortem Tyrannus. Now level 4s always offer some pretty decent utility of freezing driver combo timers except for launch, and can give you some invincibility frames, so in that sense they're always useful. They're also always at their maximum ratio and effect, which can be useful for Corvin early on. However, that's where the positives end. Now, this ends up having a pretty strong ratio of 1750, which is actually only second place this time behind Numa's gargantuan 2025 ratio, but for this special there is a catch. For most level 4s in the game, the driver has 500 of the ratio, where they do their own hits on the enemies separate from the blade, which have some different properties. These hits are usually before and after the blade hits the enemy. This means Corvin's hits only comprise 1250 of the total damage ratio. Since Corvin is a katana clone, the driver hits will do physical damage instead of ether damage, and they will also not pierce enemy defense values at all. This can make this special seem weaker on certain enemies, but even on enemies that have no defensive values, because level 1 through 3 specials get another 25% boost to damage at max affinities, Corvin's level 3 will actually end up being stronger than his level 4 special in every situation if you have it maxed out. That's right, Corvin is a blade who has a stronger level 3 special than level 4 special when maxed out a majority of the time, making his level 4 special only really useful for utility. The bonus effect is also only nullifying guard, making it not very unique or powerful in all, so in short, unless you want to set up a fusion combo or get the invincibility frames you shouldn't really need with Corvin, I probably would not use this special too much. For max effectiveness, absolutely go with a Moon Matter core chip to maximize his critical hit rate. If you're before that point, then just any chips that give him a high critical hit rate are good options. With a Moon Matter core chip, Corvin can reach 60% critical hit rate, which is the highest critical tier in the game, tied with Rock. This also synergizes very well with his party meter gain, and the block rate being low doesn't really matter much since he has so much evasion and naturally high defenses. Some good aux cores for Corvin include Affinity Max Attack for the highest possible damage boost once again, Outdoor Indoor Attack for even more damage, and Critical Up or Massive Melee Mithra to increase his critical hit rate further. Fun fact, with Massive Melee Mithra, he will hit 75% critical hit rate with a Moon Matter chip, which will be multiplied by another 30% in max affinity, giving him a 98% critical hit rate, making this aux core give him essentially guaranteed critical hits, which is powerful for a variety of reasons. Some other good aux cores are Night Vision for guaranteed accuracy, and Blade Combo Boost to take advantage of his high damage ratios, and naturally high damage to increase Blade Combo damage even further. For accessories, Crimson Headband is a no-brainer with his huge critical hit rate, and the fact it's independent as a multiplier, anything that increases critical damage is going to be valuable on Corvin. For a strong art spam strategy, Noise Dampener is incredibly powerful for giving you a good increase to your art damage ratios, further increasing damage more than anything additively. A Bisque Mask can be a good option on Corvin for his high evasion, so the negative of the item doesn't matter that much, and a Critical Healing Medal can be used for maximum safety if you really need that. Besides that, general use stuff like Burst Symbols for chain attack strength, Omega Drive for even more crazy critical hit charging up party meter shenanigans, or even Dauntless Boost for even more agility stacking are good options. For pouch items, Corvin can benefit a lot from Drink since it's his favorite category and boosts party meter gain even further, and this can be great on Bringer of Chaos. Art recharge stuff like Desserts can be useful for helping make sure he can have his evasion art up almost all the time, and special damage increases can also be useful for maximizing his damage. As far as driver recommendation, Corvin is actually pretty strong on everyone. He's a great option for Rex early on, can be generally useful as a blade to put on Morag later if you want her to be an agility tank, and even ends up being incredible on Zeke thanks to an art called Galactic Strike, which is an area of effect evasion art that's great at clearing out mobs of enemies. He even offers a smash art to every single driver, becoming Rex and Zeke's best smash option, and his only option, and he even gives that extra utility to Morag as well. All in all, Corvin is very powerful, so let's take a look at how to use him and practical applications of all of this. As already stated, Corvin is a very powerful blade, and he has a lot of very strong specific uses, but if you were going to use him generally, then I would say there's a couple things he synergizes really well with. The first of which are going to be common blades that increases agility even further. Some katana blades with pentagon chips and agility modifiers can make him virtually unhittable. Additionally, he can synergize incredibly well with a blade like Shulk or Mither to increase his evasion even further with Monato's speed or foresight. This once again makes him very, very difficult to actually hit. Besides that, driver combos are always a good option for him. As you know, he gets that smash art on everyone, which can be very, very valuable. He'll pretty much always be hitting damage caps whenever he smashes an enemy, so as long as you can have good driver combo support, you can definitely take advantage of that to do a lot of damage to these enemies. Using his specials on launched enemies can also give you a very powerful damage over time effect, even without any additional support for something like that. You can see right here, I got 145,000 with just a couple photons and smash damage here, and that has only increased further. Now, you can't actually show off all of his defensive utility if you're just driver comboing him, because he's not going to get hit to begin with if we just keep an enemy driver combo log. So let me show you a similar fight where we're not going to have Tora to combo him, and just show you the power of his defensive utility and evasion. So if we were to fight this enemy without Tora, use someone like Dagas to just increase our own damage instead, you'll see all of his attacks are pretty much going to miss us. Because of the agility modifier we have on our common blade, we have about 600 agility with Rex right now, and we've got Shulk for extra evasion, and Corvin has the additional 25% evasion on his own skill tree, of course. And if we use Victory Slash or our level 3 special, we get additional evasion on top of that if any of the attacks actually breach through. And with Shulk's extra synergy for Monato Vision, we even get another additional way to avoid attacks, which just makes this very, very difficult to actually kill Corvin. You're pretty much just guaranteed to be able to survive pretty much anything. I think this makes him a very friendly blade to new players. I think no matter what you do with him, you'll pretty much be successful. No matter what driver you choose to put him on, you'll pretty much be able to have success as long as you have the right setup. And it's very difficult to do badly with him just because of what he can actually offer you. Even if you run into some difficult fights, you'll have his healing. You'll also be able to instantly purge and rage on enemies thanks to his level 2. And you'll be able to just get increased art cooldowns thanks to your own evasion, so you'll be able to spam pretty much all your arts at all times, which is very, very powerful. Thanks to his skills, he has very high damage not only on his specials, but just in general. It won't match some of the top offensive blades in the game, except in very specific scenarios, but he still has a ton of use. His final general strength is getting party meter incredibly fast. I'm not set up perfectly for this build here, but one of his major strengths is being able to spam chain attacks, especially on normal mode, and being the best option for setting up overdrive and some other things on Bringer of Chaos. Now, if you set up your party with multiple burst symbols and just a bunch of extra damage on all your other drivers, you can actually use Corvin's chain attack strength very well here. While his own damage in the chain attack's not going to be anything special since he only has a single hit and kind of slow level 1, being able to gain the party meter incredibly fast will allow you to spam chain attacks, which means the enemy's not going to be able to ever do much to you at all, and you'll always be pretty much safe to just hit him with all your most powerful specials over and over. And if you've got 3 burst symbols equipped, you can pretty much reach a ratio of 1,000 extra, or the bonus chain attack ratio at the very least. You can see I just immediately used another chain attack again there without doing anything special. I don't have any burst symbols or anything to like really increase my damage right now. I don't think Poppy's set up for damage either. But you are able to see here just how powerful this effect is of being able to charge at party meter. And just another thing that Corvin has for additional utility that can make him a very, very powerful person. And if you want even more craziness, you can actually synergize this with an Omega Drive or drink pouch items or just stuff like that. Just make the party gauge gain just super, super easy. Not that it isn't already easy. We're already back to max again. Corvin's extremely broken just for the party gauge gain, honestly. Having party gauge is always valuable in pretty much every situation. And as far as one of Corvin's more powerful specific uses and why Galactic Strike is very, very good, just check out how useful it is against Elma here. So this is one of the reasons Corvin on Zeke is such a powerful thing. Not only is the damage incredibly high, not only is it area of effect, but it's an evasion art, and it's an ether-based evasion art, which means that I'm not going to get cancelled by any block rate or anything like that. And since I'm constantly evading all the frequent Elma attacks, I guess to keep using this art, and I never get hit because of it. This can be done on Bringer of Chaos mode, any difficulty you want, normal mode, easy mode, just to unlock Elma if you really want to, and it's very, very powerful. You can also do this with Zeke in other challenges that have multiple enemies, and it's actually a pretty strong art spam strategy. I would say having Corvin on Zeke is one of his strongest specific uses, in addition to his ability to set up damage over time effects on Bringer of Chaos. Overall, Corvin is just generally such a powerful blade in pretty much any situation that you can't really go wrong with having him on any kind of team or anything like that. His defensive utility is incredible, and he has some of the best offenses in the entire game, despite being a tank blade. And all around, he just has so many positive qualities that he'll always be beneficial to you. He's definitely worthy of being ranked 6th in the entire game, because he's definitely a very good blade. And he's generally a pretty likable guy, if you ask me. Sure, he might look too much like the Sword Art Online guy, but that's because it's the same artist. And I don't think it's that bad of a thing. I think he has a pretty cool design. Regardless, though, Corvin is great. I think that's going to cover it for this guide, so I hope you all learned more about Corvin and how to use him more effectively. And if you're still struggling with the Elma challenge, he's very powerful on Zeke, so definitely try him out there. All in all, though, you can't really go wrong no matter who you use him on, and I hope you will all have fun trivializing the game with him. Try out Bringer of Chaos, because he really was made for that difficulty. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and look forward to the future Blade guides, and give me any feedback for potential improvement. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.